From Jamarcus Russell with the first pick to Tom Brady with the 199th, there's a wide variety of player that can be selected in the draft. And you may have a top pick in the draft, but if the fit or the culture isn't right for that player, you might be writing their name in as the next big bust. Today we're going to go through the first round of the NFL mock draft, and we're going to put these players in the spots that we feel make sense for both the franchise and the player going forward. I'm joined by my co-host Bakari. Steve, are you ready for this first mock draft?
Yeah, I'm ready. Countless hours of looking into prospects' personal lives. I'm playing. But yeah, I'm ready for this.
This is your early reminder that if you guys do enjoy what you're seeing / sharing, go ahead and support us down below. Hit the like, drop us, subscribe to the channel. I jinxed it last time, but we are close to 100 subscribers. We're only 8 away, so be those 8 subscribers. Help us get to our first milestone for the channel. But without further ado, I'm your host, Owen Stiftar. Let's get straight to this mock draft. Hold on, before we get into this first pick, I'm going to need to do it. I'm going to need to do it because that's just what you do when it's time for the draft. All right, are you ready to give us the first pick?
I am ready.
All right, here we go.
Okay. With the first pick in the 2023 Anomaly Podcast mock draft, the Panthers are going to take C.J. Stroud. My reasoning for this was because, I'm told that C.J. Stroud is their favorite. It is their favorite QB prospect. They believe that he is a little bit more physically ready for the league than that of Bryce Young. It's not a knock on Bryce Young at all. Bryce Young is also a phenomenal QB, but the Panthers feel like they don't want to take the risk of drafting a 5'10", 200-pound QB. C.J. Stroud, he is, he's what you want. He's 6'3", 214 pounds. Last year he had 41 touchdowns to 6, interceptions. He's really smooth. He's really robotic in the pocket. He's proved that he's a pocket passer, but in our college playoff college playoff game last year, he proved that he can run outside the pocket. He can scramble to get some extra yards. This would be a good fit for the Panthers. They get their franchise QB.
Yeah, he's the most natural thrower of the football, and like you said in that game against Georgia in the college football playoff, it showed a lot of potential because Ohio State, most years we only worry about Michigan. We worry about Michigan and then the playoff. But he showed a lot of promise in that Michigan game and then in the Georgia game because there was a lot of questions because of the level of play that we did have in the Big Ten. But going over here to the second pick, I have the Texans taking Bryce Young. In my opinion, the best quarterback in the class. Daniel Jeremiah, a guy that I love to watch, and his draft breakdowns, he gave 4 Ps to describe Bryce Young. He's poised, he has great pocket awareness, great precision, accuracy, and great playmaking ability. To me personally, when I watch him, compared to other quarterbacks, he reminds me of Joe Burrow. As a Gator fan, it was scary to play Joe Burrow because it always feels like the game is in his hands, and every time a big play needs to be made, Joe Burrow made that play. Bryce Young does the same thing for me. Like you mentioned, the only thing you got to worry about is his size. But aside from his height, you can always get bigger, you can always get stronger. But his size is something to worry about. Regardless, I think he's the smartest quarterback, and he's the best quarterback in this draft class.
Yeah. So with the third pick, I have the Cardinals taking Will Anderson, the edge rusher from Alabama. A lot of people have Will Anderson as the best edge rusher in this draft.
Arguably the best player.
Yeah, and listen, he's 6'4", 253 pounds. He runs a 4.6. Last year alone, he had 51 tackles, 17 tackles for losses, and 10 sacks. He has really long arms. He's really athletic. He was the number 1 weak side rusher in the country last year, and this would be perfect for the Cardinals. They get their edge rusher, they get their
JJ just retired.
Yeah, exactly, and they have a new defense. They're going to have a new look defense this year. He was all SEC honors as a freshman. So this guy, he's really decorated in college, and he'll be great in the pros.
Yeah, they just lost Zach Allen and J.J. Watt in the same offseason. What a way to start off your rebuild for your defense there in Arizona.
Right.
I guess best way to explain Will Anderson to me is high floor, high ceiling. Yeah. He's probably the safest player to draft in this draft class to me. But at the number 4 pick, this might come as a surprise, but look, this is a team that has had a carousel of just veteran, older quarterbacks. that are on their last leg. Not counting Carson Wentz, but that was Carson Wentz's last leg as a starting quarterback in this league. But the Colts this time, they're gonna flip the script. They're gonna draft nothing but potential here. In Anthony Richardson, big size, big arm, everything you want in a quarterback. He, to me, has the most potential of any player in this draft class. And right now, the thing I love about Anthony Richardson is, well, first, he was a Gator. I'm a big Gators fan. But right now, he's further developed as a runner than a passer. And that might be an area of concern, but we've seen guys like Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields start off their careers more so as a runner than a passer, and they've developed. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is, not to be funny, the anomaly, where he's actually, his improvement in his passing game is insane compared to like Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields. But Anthony Richardson, he's on that same career trajectory, and I believe he can develop his passing. But my only dislikes on Anthony Richardson, he makes the game too difficult on himself. I've said it before. He makes difficult plays look easy, easy plays look difficult. But the Colts here, they're going to get, hopefully, their franchise guy.
Yeah, and so that means with the 5th pick, I believe the Seahawks are going to take Tyree Wilson, edge out of Texas Tech. I was debating, having them take, a QB that they sit for a year behind Geno after they give him a contract. But I was like, you know what them giving a contract to Geno means to me is they are ready to, they feel like they're, a couple of pieces away from, moving further on in the playoffs. So they take Tyree Wilson. He's out of Iowa. He's 6'6", 271 pounds. This guy is an absolute force. Last year, he had 7 sacks, 14 tackles for losses. He has really, really, really good upside. He has a high motor, and he just bulldozes his way through people. A lot of people say that he has shades of like a Jadeveon Clowney when he was out of college.
South Carolina.
Yeah, this would be a really good pick. The team needs an edge. They need some pass rushing talent, and they get it here with Tyree Wilson.
Absolutely. To number 6, Dan Campbell and them are going to get a steal to pair up with Aiden Hutchinson on the D-line. There's a lot of questions about this player with the off-the-field antics, but Jalen Carter, some would say he's the most talented player in this draft class. Some would argue he's the best player in this draft class. And if this off-the-field stuff didn't happen, he might be going number 1 or number 2 in this class. But Jalen Carter, for me, the D-tackle out of Georgia, is going to the Detroit Lions here to pair up with Aiden Hutchinson on that D-line. They also have C.J. Gardner-Johnson. This Lions team is setting to be a very scary team next year. But Jalen Carter, very dynamic interior force. I guess the only dislikes is you have to worry about his attitude, how he acts on the field and off the field. But that stuff can be fixed, especially when you're winning ball games.
Yeah, and I know he didn't have, I think it was either he didn't have a good combine or a good pro day, but, sometimes you just have to believe in the player's talent and hope that you can change them once they get to your organization. And, every organization feels like they can help a guy, especially when they're young. So, yeah. For my next pick, the Raiders are going to take Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, corner. With the 7th pick, I think this makes sense for them. They need help in their secondary. They made some moves on the offensive side of the ball, but, the draft is where they're going to, make most of their defensive moves. They take Christian Gonzalez. He's a corner. He's really good. He ran a 4.3 at the combine. He's a really good playmaker. He's athletic. Yeah, he's athletic. This is just somebody you want to take to help bolster your secondary. He has long arms. He has a good frame for a corner. Really good coverage traits. The Raiders are really going to like this. They, hopefully, this breaks their trend of drafting, felons in the draft. But
absolutely.
The Raiders are going to like Christian Gonzalez. He's everything you want in a corner when you draft him that high.
Yeah, the upside is through the roof. Especially at the cornerback position, probably has the highest ceiling. Mm-hmm. And like you said everything. He's coming off the breakout year last year with Oregon. But at number 8, I have the Falcons pairing A.J. Terrell with hopefully 2 lockdown corners for the foreseeable future. They need help on that side of the ball. Right here, they're going to get arguably the most polished corner in the class, Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. To me, he plays a lot like Denzel Ward as a Browns fan. He's fun. He's lengthy. He's very fast. He's a playmaker. He's very consistent. I can't say that so much for Denzel, but Devin Witherspoon's very consistent. He's fun to play. He's fun to watch. He's got the length, size, everything you want. And pairing him next to A.J. Terrell is going to make that secondary just a bit more dangerous there in Atlanta as they continue their rebuild. But moving over to the 9th pick with the Chicago Bears, I think we can imagine what position you're going to attack here.
Yeah, I took Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. He's an offensive tackle, but the good thing about him is that he has the versatility and the potential to really play any position on that line, and that's why a lot of scouts, a lot of teams like him coming out of Northwestern. He's really stout. He has good balance, good hand skills. As far as not getting penalized or anything like that. He's 6'4", 313 pounds, and we know the Bears were making a lot of moves on offense and defense, trying to help Justin Fields out. But this would be a really good pick because, like I said, you could place him anywhere on the line, and you could kind of teach him and work him into the lineman you want. You want to protect.
Absolutely, I know he plays right tackle a lot, and Chicago, for some reason, I'm definitely in the basketball mind right now, not in the football mind. But they have a left tackle right now. They need that right side to, especially as Justin Fields continues to, I guess, resort back to his old playing style of being more so of a passer.
And he's a great pass protector first, and I know that's exactly what they're looking for.
Oh, so. Absolutely. But moving over to the Eagles, at the number 10 pick, the Eagles, look, they were in the Super Bowl last year. They brought back some of their vets. Sure, they lost some key pieces, but why not bolster that back up in the draft? They're a bit older in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They're going to get someone here who's very versatile. They're going to get someone like Trayvon Walker of last season that went to Jacksonville. But Nolan Smith's arguably the most explosive player in the class. He showed his behind off at the combine, had one of the best combines of the day. He plays both the run and the pass elite. And I know that last year, Georgia was experimenting, putting him on the D-line, putting him on the edge. He also played some inside linebacker. I think he can do it a bit of everything for this Eagles team because they just lost T.J. Edwards, their middle linebacker. Nolan Smith can step in and he can do that, and he's way faster, way more athletic than T.J. Edwards. They can move him anywhere. I guess the only concerns you have for Nolan Smith is injury concerns. He does have a history of injuries, and especially in big games. But Nolan Smith, he's going to be a key piece for this Eagles team as they look to bolster up their defense yet again.
Yeah. So with the 11th pick, I have the Titans taking Will Levis out of Kentucky. They get a QB here, even though they just took Malik Willis last year. So my reasoning for this is, they're able to get out of Ryan Tannehill's contract at the end of this season, upcoming season. So next season, yeah. And what we saw from Malik Willis last year wasn't promising really in any way, shape, or form. I don't believe that they'll be comfortable or confident in saying, okay, here we are. We're gonna mold this young guy into being the QB we want him to be. Which is why they take Will Levis out of Kentucky. He's further advanced in just certain principles of the game than Malik Willis is. He has a really, really, really strong arm. He has smooth footwork, and just like Malik,
Josh Allen.
Yeah, he has good option. He's a good option threat. But some of the drawbacks are the same thing with Malik. His inconsistencies, his accuracy, his decision making. But you say, well, we have Malik Willis, we have Will Levis. Let's put them against each other. Let's see who comes out on top. And I believe that it'll be positive either way, because either way, the guy would have to have earned their job.
Absolutely. Got to take care of the football for either of those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But Luke Van Ness is going to be the 12th pick here to the Houston Texans, who have already drafted Bryce Young in this mock draft. And they're going to get arguably a captain on both sides of the football here. Luke Van Ness, he's versatile on the D-line, one of the most explosive D-linemen in this draft. He can play inside, outside. He's super fast. And they can use that over there in Houston, especially off the edge. It reminds me a little bit of Whitney Merciless, a throwback player there for you guys. But Luke Van Ness joins Bryce Young, and they're going to continue to rebuild this Houston team, as we all know that DeMeco Ryans loves his defensive players.
Yeah, and with the 13th pick, I have the New York Jets taking Paris Johnson. He's an offensive tackle, left tackle primarily, out of Ohio State. This pick comes down to, they're just trying to get their line together for Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, I'm guessing everybody, is expecting Aaron Rodgers to play in New York this upcoming season. But with that being said, even if it was Zach Wilson back there, they need to get their line better. Paris Johnson does just that. He gives them versatility. He gives them size. He's a good pass protector on that left side, blind side. It'll be good for any QB to be behind. He's really talented. He's 6'6", 313 pounds. He's really big. He's perfect for the Jets.
Absolutely. Especially, whether if it's Aaron Rodgers or Zach Wilson, you got to protect your quarterback. And he's going to join Mekhi Becton on that offensive line.
Yeah, and Paris Johnson, he's super athletic too. He's big, but he
can move.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. For number 14th pick here, I did flirt with the idea of Bijan Robinson. As you'll see, maybe he'll be in this mock draft later on, maybe not. But I flirted with the idea of Bijan Robinson joining Ramondre in this run-heavy Patriots offense. But look, Matt Patricia, he was the offensive coordinator last year, and you could tell watching the Patriots play. But he's moving back to the defensive coordinator this season, and what more do the Patriots love than physical and a tremendous upside defensive ends? That's what they're going to get here in Myles Murphy out of Clemson. Big upside, big size and strength, everything you need out of a prototypical defensive end. And Matt Patricia is going to get someone who he can, I guess, redeem his coaching ability next season with Myles Murphy. Maybe I guess he can't do any worse than he did last year as offensive coordinator. But he's back to his roots, back to being the defensive coordinator of the Patriots. He's going to get a D end here.
Yeah, and so with the 15th pick, I have the Packers taking Brian Brees. There are a few different players that the Packers could have taken. They could have took a receiver. They could have took another offensive tackle just because their line right now is aging. But I have them taking Brian Brees. He is the he's out of Clemson.
Yes.
During his career at Clemson, there are a few things that impacted his playing, which were, injuries. But he still has the God-given talent, I guess, if you want to call it that, to be an impact at the next level. And, a lot of times when the teams are looking, they're like, hey, like the Packers are probably saying, okay, who's the best available player that we can take right here, right now, who will still make an immediate impact for our team? Brian Brees does just that. He's third in his position ranked already. So, this would be a good pick for them. You can't really go wrong, out of the redshirt freshman here.
No, absolutely. For the 16th pick, the Washington Commanders, Logan Thomas, he's getting older. And in the words of Daniel Jeremiah, he says this is the best tight end class in the last 10 years. Sure, maybe not, you don't have the talents of Kyle Pitts, but just the overall class is very solid, and this might be the best class in a decade. So with that being said, the Washington Commanders are here. I believe that they're going to roll with Sam Howell next year, at least for a year, to see what they have. And if Sam Howell's that bad, Washington's going to be in position to get Caleb Williams next year. So why not have a big body tight end for whichever quarterback you're going to give the starting job to next year? They're going to get Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. I watched this dude killed the Gators in week 1 of the season because I forget the name of the Utah's quarterback, but he looks like Gardner Minshew, and he was 15 to 16. I want to say he only missed 1 or 2 passes all game, but almost all of those completions were to Dalton Kincaid, and that's when I first learned about him. But look, he can split out wide. He's one of the prototypical modern age tight ends. He can play a little bit of receiver, win those jump balls for you, and another throwback name here. He plays a lot like Chris Cooley. Chris Cooley back for the old Washington Redskins at the time. But a guy that, he's faster than what he looks like. He's big. He can make those jump ball plays. And Washington's going to get a playmaker for whichever young quarterback they have at the helm.
Yeah, and so with the 17th pick, the Steelers are going to take Joey Porter out of Penn State. Listen, they signed Pat Pete, this year to a 1-year deal. Kind of just like a deal you're saying, okay, we need somebody to fill a spot. Joey Porter, they draft him to basically take up the mantle of their next corner. He's out of Penn State, like I said. He is 6'3", 193. His dad played in the league. And, listen, Joey Porter, he just has the instinctual playmaking skills on defense. His upside is really good. He's a big play type of guy. He's going to make some plays on the defensive side of the ball. And that's really what the Steelers need right now, especially from, they need to get younger, or they need, just talent at the corner position. Why not go get Joey Porter? A lot of places had him going actually in the top 10. We have him going 17th right now, but it's not really anything to do with his play style. He's really, really good. The Steelers actually get a steal with the 17th pick for taking Joey Porter.
In any other draft class, he would probably be the number one corner. But this year just has 3 or 4 different guys that can be it.
Yeah.
After that, there's a big drop-off in the quarterback room. But you have those 3 or 4 guys that could be very valuable pieces to a franchise for years to come. And why not keep the bloodline going there in Pittsburgh? But at number 18, I believe, this just came down to fit, not necessarily, but this is just a talent. There's too much talent left on the board for this, or this player shouldn't be on the board at this point. Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. He's the best slot receiver in the class. Most believe he's going to strictly be a slot receiver. Going forward, he's great hands, great route runner. He can win those 50-50 balls. He's got great size. You do have to worry about the injury concerns. He missed most of last season. But, if you go back 2 years ago to the Rose Bowl game against Utah, it was a great game, and he showed out, just to say the least. And at this point, there's too much talent. He's too talented of a player, I'll say it that way, to be on the board at this point. Detroit goes and gets it, and they add another weapon to this offense to pair with the Sun God and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, so with the 19th pick, I have the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're going to take Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia. With this pick, it gives them versatility because they could either move Tristan Wirfs over to right tackle or, that's where they're going to put Broderick Jones. He's well built. He's a big tackle. He has really good athleticism, quick feet, and he's just a dog on the field. He's just one of those linemen that love hitting people. He really loves the contact. He moves really easy for a guy with such a big frame. He has a high upside. Like I said, you could put him at the left tackle, the right tackle, and just let him work. He anchored Georgia's line on a team that won the national championship. So, he has the pedigree, he has the talent. This is another one of those players. It's just like, there are a lot of good offensive tackles in this draft, or at least the first round.
Right.
And this is just another one of those players that, he just kind of fell right here to the Bucks, but they get a steal because, like I said, they can work around Tristan Wirfs and they'll have 2 elite tackles on both sides.
Absolutely. And last year they had so many offensive line issues there in Tampa.
Yeah.
A big reason why Brady looked terrible last year. Why not pair Tristan Wirfs with another high upside tackle?
Yeah.
But moving over here to Seattle, I believe in this mock draft they already went out there and they already got Tyree Wilson, edge out of Iowa. And in free agency, they already got Javon Hargrave, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, they did.
So they're bolstering up that D-line.
No, that was the 49ers.
That's correct. You're correct. They missed out on Javon Hargrave. Yeah. That's where I was going. So they missed out on Javon Hargrave, but they're already bringing in Tyree Wilson in this mock draft. Why not pair Javon Hargrave on that D-line? Give someone who's very versatile, but very explosive and strong. Kalia Kancey, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing the name, but out of Pitt, he has comparisons. I'm not putting this comparison on him because, look, nobody is Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's arguably the best defensive player of all time, and for good reason. If not, he's probably the best defensive lineman of all time. But they're both out of Pitt, and Kalia Kancey is drawing comparisons to Aaron Donald. They work together all the time in the off seasons, and Seattle's going to get one of those interior forces that they missed out on in Javon Hargrave. But moving over to the 21st pick with the Miami Dolphins, why don't you go ahead and tell us who they're going to pick?
They're going to pick nobody. They got this pick forfeited. We all know why. So, it's short and sweet. They're going to get a big 0 right here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you get when you try and tamper with Tom Brady, Sean Payton, and basically a whole roster.
Trying to build a dream team.
Oh, absolutely. But Brian Branch, to me, his pro comp to me would be Derwin James. Why not bring Brian Branch to where Derwin James plays? They're going to pair up on or in that Los Angeles Charger secondary. Look, Brian Branch is exactly the prototype of Derwin James. They move around. They can play multiple positions inside the box, slot corner, outside corner, safety, deep safety. They can do everything on a football field for you. He did everything last year for Bama. He's going to continue to do that here. And Derwin James and Brian Branch are going to make that secondary even better over there in Los Angeles, as I'm excited to see what Brian Branch can do in the league.
Yeah, and so with the 23rd pick, I have the Baltimore Ravens taking Jordan Addison. Listen, there like a few other teams, there are one or two other spots they maybe could have decided to go, but the key thing is it doesn't really look like Lamar Jackson is getting interest from any other teams. We don't know what's going to be happening this upcoming season, but it's looking more and more likely that he will at least play out this season. And if you're going to do that, if you want to make Lamar happy, if you want to try and reconnect burn bridges, you have to go get him another receiver. Jordan Addison falls right here for them. He's a really, really good route runner. He has the quickness. He's a little slim, but this could be somebody you put next to Rashad Bateman, and you let Lamar in this new offense. You have two young receivers who are really good route runners who can go get the ball. He's a natural pass catcher. He was really productive in college. He should be a really good contributor for Baltimore this season, especially if Lamar Jackson does come back. Like I said, this is where they should go right here.
I think only the second receiver off the board at this point, but, I mean, he's arguably the number one receiver in the class, and Baltimore gets another talented receiver.
Yeah.
At number 24, this pick was another pick where I flirted with the Bijan Robinson, where we know that the Vikings are in a bit of a rebuild or retooling, I guess we'll say. We don't know the future of Kirk Cousins, which is another reason why I flirted with the idea of Hendon Hooker here out of Tennessee. Even though he's a bit older, he could sit behind Kirk Cousins for a year and then get at it. But I ended up going with Deonte Banks here. They just lost Pat Pete, and if they want to compete this year, they're going to need that outside perimeter corner. They're going to get that Deonte Banks. He's very explosive. He had a great combine. He played very solid last year, and there's a lot of things to like about Deonte Banks. And I think he's kind of, after Deonte Banks, it's that fall off in the cornerback room. And you have to get him. You have to get this guy here. That's why the Vikings are going there.
Yeah, and with the 25th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I actually have them taking another corner, Kelly Ringo, out of Georgia. Kelly Ringo, the Jags are just in a desperate need of corners right here. And it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to take him with the 25th pick.
No, not at all.
They love the traits about him. He had a really good combine. He has really good size, speed, and skills, ball skills on the defensive side of the football. Listen, he's 6'2", 207 pounds, and he runs a 4.3. He has really elite athleticism. He has an uncommon blend of size and ball skills. He has really good upside for this Jags defense, and like I said, they desperately need corners. They desperately need a better secondary. This would be a great pick for them. Like I said, they could, even if Kelly Ringo fell a little bit, this is a good pick for the Jags. They feel like they have an up and coming team. They need to go get Kelly Ringo out of Georgia.
Absolutely. 26. I sound like a broken record here, but this is the third team where I flirted with the idea of Bijan Robinson. I do believe he will go in the first round here, and we're going to do another mock draft right before the actual draft in April. And, I'll probably have him there because I do love Bijan. But I ended up going with Joe Tippmann out of Wisconsin. He's one of the few good interior offensive linemen in this class, and that's what the Giants need. They lost some guys in free agency, and they're going to need to re-bolster up that offensive line. Why not get the best interior offensive lineman in this class? He could play guard, center, and he can even slide out the tackle a little bit. I wouldn't do that if I were the Giants, but the Giants are already set at tackle as they do have Andrew Thomas. Why not go get Joe Tippmann to, we know Brian Daboll loves to run the ball, and they're going to be able to do that with Tippmann here.
Yeah. And with the 27th pick, I have the Cowboys taking Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. He's a tight end. Listen, the Cowboys, as we all know, they've been making moves this offseason. They went and got Stephon Gilmore on the defensive side of the ball. They went and got Brandon Cooks on the offensive side of the ball. But we all know that they lost Dalton Schultz to, I believe he went to, what was it?
Dalton Schultz?
The Panthers or the Commanders, one of those two
teams. One
of
the two teams.
Yeah, he went.
Panthers.
Yeah, he went to the Panthers. Michael Mayer, I mean, this is another one of those guys. He in some mock drafts, they have him projected to go, I think top 10, I believe. So this tight end draft class is really good. Michael Mayer conveniently falls to Dallas, 27th pick. He should be somebody who could step in, make some key catches throughout this season for the Cowboys. We all know about the weapons they have. This just adds to it. He should be really good. And like I said, Michael Mayer goes 27th to the Cowboys.
A lot of guys that I watch and listen to when it comes to this draft analysis and breakdown, a lot of the same A lot of the same belief is around Michael Mayer, is that he's the most complete tight end in the class, and he's drawing shades to George Kittle with his style of play, with how physical and how great of a run blocker he is. So we'll just have to see. I mean, that's a steep comparison, to live up to, but
yeah.
Without a doubt, I mean, it fills a big hole for Dallas there. But number 28, I have the Bills getting someone who I believe should be higher on draft boards, but there's other guys that I think have higher potential, or they're just a little bit more defined or polished. But I have Quentin Johnson here, big body, 6'3", 6'4" receiver out of TCU. We saw him in the playoff last year go crazy, and he's going to Buffalo here. He's going to join Gabe Davis, who's another big body receiver. He's going to join Stephon Diggs, where I thought Adam Thielen, instead of Carolina, was going to go over there to Buffalo and pair up with Diggs, but they need that number 2. They can get that in Quentin Johnson. He's got a rare combo of speed, size, strength. I believe he draws comparisons to A.J. Green, in a sense. I guess the only dislikes is, even with his size and frame, he's not that 50-50 ball guy that you would think that he would be at his size. And I also believe he struggles creating his own space. He's not the best route runner. He's not the best at creating his own space. So those are areas that he has to work on. And I believe that's why he does fall down the draft board. But regardless, Buffalo, they're a great team, great contender. They get another piece here in Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, and with the 29th pick, I have the Cincinnati Bengals taking Mozzie Smith. Now, so with this pick, you could say, oh, well, they need another, offensive lineman. They need, secondary help or whatever it is. But I feel like Mozzie Smith wouldn't be that far of a stretch for them for a pick. They need, I think, having another interior defensive lineman who can get to the QB. Every team, there isn't a lack of that on any team. Mozzie Smith, he was a playmaker at Michigan. He's 2021 when he started all 14 games, he had 37 tackles, 2.5 for a loss. He had 4 pass breakups, and he's a defensive lineman. So this is a big guy. His NFL comparison, believe it or not, is Dontari Poe.
God.
Yeah, this guy. He's big, he's physical, he's athletic. He should be able to make an impact for Cincinnati on that defensive line right there. I believe that this pick would benefit them. They're getting ready to pay Joe Burrow, so why not go get Mozzie Smith?
Unfortunately, I'm going to say this. Dontari Poe is a great player. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's one of those nostalgic players for me. Unfortunately, the first memory that comes to mind is that touchdown pass he had in the playoffs. I think it was against the Titans. But regardless, Will McDonald, the 4th, out of Iowa State, but he had a great Senior Bowl. He's going to go here to the Saints, as the Saints lost Marcus Davenport this offseason. He's going to fill that role, and he's going to play even better, in my opinion. He's very gifted, he's very polished, explosive. And Dennis Allen, the coach of the Saints, he preaches he preaches about guys that give tons of effort and energy. And Will McDonald's going to do that. He's like the Russell Westbrook, someone that if they're winning or losing, he's going to give 110% the whole game. And, he's one of the most talented pass rushers in the class. He goes there to fill a big role in New Orleans.
Yeah, and with the 31st pick, I have the Philadelphia Eagles taking Keion White here. I debated, having them take a corner, but, like you said earlier, that after, really Kelly Ringo, there is a drastic drop-off in secondary. So I have them taking Keion White. He's an edge out of Georgia Tech. Now listen, he has the versatility, to really play anywhere on that defensive line. He's 6'5", 285, and check this out. He was a former 2-star tight end, out of North Carolina.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has, rare versatility when it comes to an edge rusher. He has a really relentless motor. He's long, strong, he's athletic. He has the ability to just kind of bend around the offensive line and get to the QB. And just rush QBs up. And, the Eagles, they re-signed Fletcher Cox to a 1-year deal. They have some, their defense is a little bit older. They get a little bit younger, taking Nolan Smith and now that Keion White in this draft. These guys are going to be huge for Philly. Not just this year, but upcoming years. This will be a great pick for them, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. And to close off the first round of the first ever mock draft, or NFL mock draft here on this channel, the Chiefs, they lost Orlando Brown this offseason. They're going to go, and yes, they did bring in Jawan Taylor, but the Chiefs, they need offensive linemen. You can never have more depth there. They're going to get DeJuan Jones, big body, high potential guy out of Ohio State. and he can go play the right side. He can play a little bit of guard for you. I want to try your luck at center, but I'm never going to doubt Andy Reid and his ability to turn these guys into the positions they need. I actually scratched that because the Chiefs do have Creed Humphrey, arguably the best center in the game. But he could play guard, he could play tackle on either side of the ball, and you can never have enough depth there at the offensive lineman positions. That's going to do it for our first round, but I just want to show some love to some guys really quick that weren't drafted. You have Hendon Hooker, who we talked about earlier, Bijan Robinson, maybe the biggest name that we left off here in this first round. Zay Flowers out of Boston College is another very explosive guy. Darnell Washington, one of those very talented guys out of Georgia that, big body, video game type tight end, and he's going to get drafted here, no doubt, in the first 2 days. But another guy that we didn't draft here is Felix Azubuike Uzoma out of TCU, a guy who feels like he just picked random names and threw them together. But he's another very talented edge out of TCU. He's going to get drafted maybe first round. A lot of guys have him linked to the Chiefs as of now. I flirted with the idea, but I figured you can never have enough depth at the offensive line position. My question here before we get out of here is, who was your favorite pick? Take some time to think about it. It could be as obvious as C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's the franchise guy for Carolina. That's my favorite pick. But, what is your favorite pick in the draft? What do you think, or what was your favorite person to talk about, or your favorite pick?
Somebody that I found intriguing, so I guess by default it would probably be my favorite pick when I was kind of just reading more about them, is Kelly Ringo, actually. When I was just kind of looking at his physical attributes, and, he obviously played for Georgia. It's just kind of crazy that this guy's, 6'3", 210, and he's running 4.3s. He's a really good man coverage corner. Obviously he played for a really stacked team, but it was just interesting kind of seeing like how much of a force, and thinking about what he could be at the next level too. When you're big and strong and fast like that, you have the ability to be an elite shutdown, even if, the potential, or, it's not all there right now. He could be in, a few years. So
I'm going to go through, give my answer, but I want you to think about who's your favorite prospect in this class. If it is Kelly Ringo, then I guess we'll get back to Ringo in a second. But my favorite pick, first off, I'm going to be biased. It's Anthony Richardson, because I'm a Gators fan and I want to see my guys do good. I do also want to say that I love that we were both high on the corners in this class, in Witherspoon and Gonzalez. But a sleeper pick for me is that Nolan Smith pick to the Eagles. At number 10, it might be a little early, for a lot of mock drafts. But I believe Nolan Smith, the Eagles are in a position where they can afford to get a project, or at least a bit of a project, and turn him into a superstar. Nolan Smith, I believe, can do that. He's so versatile. You were scared to play him, when Georgia was on the schedule. And Philly, they're going to get another piece here to keep being that great team.
Yeah.
But who is your favorite prospect in this draft?
My favorite prospect, actually, I probably have to say Tyree Wilson. This guy, he was 6'6", 6'7", and he's almost 300 pounds. He's like 270, 280. This guy, and he's an edge. Like, I can't imagine sometimes when I think about prospects or, picks, I'm just comparing them to the average man. Like, if I see somebody who's 6'6", 270, I'm like, oh, if anything, that's an offensive lineman at best. But, these guys, they're mobile, they're athletic, they're explosive at that size. And, for me, it's just hard to imagine, which makes guys like that, my favorite type of prospects.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go with the obvious Anthony Richardson. I can go with the Bryce Young. I believe, I'll say this now, I believe Bryce Young and Will Anderson are the best two players in this class. I'll say that now, even with Jalen Carter and wherever he ends up. Jalen Carter's also up there. It's hard to not go Jalen Carter. I'll say that it's a tie between Nolan Smith and Will Anderson for my favorite player in this class. I do believe both of those guys are going to be superstars in this league. Now, in 2-3 years, if you guys come back to this podcast and they're already out the league and they just don't know how to read an offense, then I'll take that shot, right? But as of right now, we're a month away from the draft. I believe those guys, especially Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson in 5-6 years, we're going to be having a conversation. Who's the best defensive end? Myles Garrett, or Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, or T.J. Watt, or you can say Will Anderson, right? I think those are going to be your top 5 guys going forward. But
I'm gonna show some love to C.J. Stroud too.
Absolutely.
CJ. We're a little bit biased because we do live in Ohio. So
not to cut you off.
Fine.
I want to ask you, Do you have C.J. Stroud going to Carolina because you think he's the best quarterback in the class, or do you think it's just what you think is going to happen? And I guess you can venture off onto why you love C.J. Stroud so much.
Yeah, I like C.J. Well, don't get me twisted. I think if C.J. Stroud wasn't going 1, he's going 2. I don't think
that's how it should be.
Yeah, I don't think that, me taking I don't think C.J. Stroud would drastically change depending on if I took him 1. But I took him 1 just based off of everything that I know. The Texans love Bryce Young a lot more than all the other teams. I know that for a fact. They want Bryce Young. Bryce Young to them is their franchise QB, their next QB. And the Panthers are in love with C.J. Stroud, just like the Texans are with Bryce Young. And for good reason. Like I said, C.J. Stroud, he's about 6'3", 215. He's a pocket passer who can escape if he needs to be. He has the potential. He has the tools to add on more skills. They've gone out. They got him, guys like Dalton Schultz. Even though they lost DJ Moore, I believe C.J. Stroud, he will be pretty, really good in this league.
Yeah, we I can't believe we're 40 minutes into this, and we did a free agency episode, and we still we made this mistake. Both of us did, but Dalton Schultz is on the Texans.
Oh,
I just want to say that I just looked it up because I wasn't sure if it was Carolina or the Texans, but Dalton Schultz is with the Texans, and for that reason, I think I went Bryce Young because he is their franchise guy. To me, he's the best player in the draft class. Without a doubt, him and Will Anderson at 1-2. C.J. Stroud's probably my number 3, as Carter's my number 4. Regardless, Bryce Young, he's going to a team that has things that you want. The Texans, they just got rid of Brandon Cooks, but they have a lot of young pieces over there. And in this scenario, I mean, he's going to be in a good spot. A young quarterback's best friend is a big body tight end. Dalton Schultz is going to do that for Houston, but. Any other players you want to touch on? Throughout this whole class. I mean, Luke Van Ness is another player that I really believe in. Going over there to Houston at 12, I believe he slid down a little bit, but sometimes that's just how the draft board falls.
I think JSN is interesting to talk about with the Lions. They have Jameson Williams. We don't know where
I didn't mention him.
Yeah, we don't know where DJ Chark is going to land as of right now, but they do. The Lions are going to be scary especially if they can upgrade from Jared Goff, within a year or two. Not to say that Jared Goff was horrible last year. He was actually pretty good for he was good for what they were expecting to do last year. But the Lions are going to be scary. They're building their defensive side back up. I mean, they did sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson to help with their secondary. They signed him to a really small deal, 1 year, $8 million. A lot of people believe that he could have went literally anywhere else, and he chose to go to the Lions. So maybe that says something about the culture the Lions have there.
Shout out to Dan Campbell.
Yeah, so that's going to be a really exciting pick for them.
Oh, absolutely, especially joining James. I didn't mention Jameson Williams, but the trio of Jameson Williams, JSN, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God. It's going to be a very exciting team over there in Detroit if this is the route they go. I think the biggest question mark of this draft is going to be the Will Levis pick. Yeah. Saying that they drafted a quarterback last year in the first round who they traded up for, or not in the first round, but the third round. Yeah. I guess it makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense. It's just, it might, raise some eyebrows. The Dolphins pick is my favorite pick because it was forfeited. And I believe that, I believe that's it. I mean, if there's any other players you'd want to touch on.
I think we hit on some of the guys that we liked, that we wanted to talk about a lot, and even with the Will Levis pick, it's one of those picks where it's like I flirted with the idea of taking maybe Jordan Addison, 11 or whatever, but like I said, they're going to want to try and get from out under Ryan Tannehill and his contract, but I don't believe that they have enough confidence in Malik Willis to take that next step and kind of show them that he can be. That starting guy that they want. So that's, it's.
Oh, absolutely. There's that question going on social media that if you're the quarterback of an NFL team, do you believe 15-minute quarters all game, do you believe you can pass for 10 yards in the game? And I believe Malik Willis was actually taking that challenge to heart last season, putting up career highs of 30 yards in a game. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with that quarterback conversation over there in Tennessee. But that's going to do it for today's show. Like I said, we're going to have depending on the reception of this video, we might do another one. I think we're planning on for sure doing one more before the NFL draft But if you guys love this that much, we might have to do a second and then have that third one to close off. But, all depends on the reception of the video. But we'll see you guys next Tuesday, which we're not sure what we're going to talk about yet. We have the playoffs coming up, the award shows coming up, big episode 50. Oh, excuse me. Oh, my gosh, I don't know what hit me. But next Tuesday, we're going to have some good content for you guys. Keep supporting the channel. Keep dropping the likes and subscribing to the channel as we're approaching 100 subscribers. It's going to be the big first milestone, I guess, for this channel. We had a small one in 50 subscribers. We're going to hit a big one here at 100. So be that 100 subscriber. Help us get it. Tell a friend to tell a friend about the podcast, as I believe we know what we're talking about, and we're growing as a channel because of it. So, get here early, get here before we do blow up, as we're putting it into, we're manifesting the idea. But until Tuesday, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, this. I don't know about you, but this mock draft was a lot of fun. The way we did it was kind of funny.
If you want to tell them how we did it.
Yeah, we were over text, and so for those of you who don't know, I had the odd numbers, he had the even numbers. So I had 1, 3, 5, 7, all those numbers. He had 2, 4, 6. And it was funny because we pretty much just had to kind of go based off of who we thought each other was going to take, and and like there was he took
Hendon Hooker with the Vikings pick. I took Hendon Hooker originally, and you were ready to take Deontay Banks who's the next team in the draft?
Next team was the Jaguars, and you took Deontay Banks. I was like, oh man, you took my pick.
I switched the pick because I said, Hendon Hooker, he's one of those guys. I feel like he got hurt last year, but he's everything that you want. He could sit behind Kirk Cousins for a year and take over. But that was without a doubt. I mean, that's the last time we're drafted like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can see some of the results, especially a little bit later on in the draft. We were kind of like, we as a matter of fact, some of them we even changed before we did this. We were like, you know what? Now that I think about it a little bit more, this person makes more sense here. But regardless, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time doing it. So
absolutely, that's what we like to hear. And I can promise you guys all that the stand-up of me with B. John Robinson, it will show next time. He might be the number one pick. You got to stay tuned for that. But until Tuesday, stay happy, stay healthy. Thank you guys for another episode. If you've made it this far, you're the GOAT. And another great episode in the books. We'll see you guys Tuesday.